Welcome to Deep Dive Discover, a new series we're incredibly excited to bring you. Today, we're embarking on a crucial deep dive into a book that, honestly, even in 2025, feels more relevant than ever before. It's AI Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order. And look, this isn't just another tech book. It's written by the visionary Dr. Kai-Fu Lee. This is a guy who has truly seen the AI revolution from pretty much every angle, as a former AI researcher, a tech exec at places like Apple and Google, and now a really prominent venture capitalist. So this work offers a profound, even personal look at how artificial intelligence is not just reshaping our global economies and, frankly, the balance of power, but also challenging our very definition of what it means to be human. Our mission for this deep dive is basically to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from Dr. Kai-Fu Lee's powerful work. We want to set the stage for future discussions and, well, hopefully give you a valuable shortcut to being really well informed on this critical topic.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here, and what gives his narrative such unique depth, is how he weaves his own personal journey. And this unparalleled perspective, as someone who has lived and worked extensively in both Silicon Valley and China, right into the global story. He starts, surprisingly, not with grand pronouncements from boardrooms, but with these really innocent yet profound questions. Questions from kindergartners in Beijing asking about robots and their future roles. And these questions, they kind of echo those grappling global elites. It just immediately highlights how AI has leapt from, academic labs and sci-fi films into the very fabric of our everyday lives. For so long, I think many in the West saw China as, well, a technological follower, maybe years, if not decades, behind the U.S. in the AI race. But Dr. Kai-Fu Lee reveals how, in just a few short years, this truly astonishing AI fever has gripped China. It's far surpassing the level of excitement and mobilization we see pretty much anywhere else.
Right, a fever, that's a good word for it.
Yeah, and this broad, almost nationalistic support has fueled China's rapid ascent. You've got Chinese AI companies and researchers making enormous, often really unexpected strides. They're not just copying anymore, they're experimenting with groundbreaking algorithms and business models that promise to, well, revolutionize their entire economy. Together, these forces have transformed China into a genuine AI superpower, standing as really the only national counterweight to the United States in this emerging tech landscape. And the choices these two giants make, how they compete, how they cooperate, will undoubtedly have dramatic implications for global economics, governance, even the future of human work.
Which is exactly why this book and this deep dive feels so essential right now.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more then. For many of us, the concept of AI has been around for decades, often kind of stuck in sci-fi. And Dr. Kai-Fu Lee acknowledges that, but he makes a really clear distinction about when the AI revolution truly moved from hypothetical to concrete reality. He talks about his early experiences, like his work at Carnegie Mellon back in 1986, creating software that could beat a human in Othello.
Right, Othello.
And then a decade later, you had IBM's Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov in chess, 1997. Now, these were impressive feats, no doubt. They definitely sparked a lot of anxiety and conversation about, robot overlords and all that. But as Dr. Kai-Fu Lee explains, these were basically brute force victories. Deep Blue, for instance, it relied on specialized hardware, a huge database of chess moves, plus human-programmed heuristics. It was amazing within its highly constrained system, the chessboard, but outside that specific context, it wouldn't show any general intelligence at all.
Not really thinking, just calculating.
Exactly. Deep Blue wasn't threatening anyone's job beyond maybe the world chess champion. And for a long time, AI seemed perpetually 5 years away, Always on the horizon, very few practical applications. They even called it the AI winter, didn't they? Funding dried up because it felt like they'd overpromised and underdelivered. So what actually changed?
That's the critical question, yeah. And it points to a fundamental shift. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee identifies a groundbreaking approach called deep learning. That was the innovation that finally turbocharged the cognitive capabilities of machines, pulling AI out of that long winter. He explains that deep learning let programs do things previously thought impossible, or at least, beyond practical application, like identifying faces with incredible accuracy, recognizing human speech in real time, even making complex financial decisions like issuing loans, often with a level of precision and speed that just surpasses humans. For decades, the AI revolution always felt kind of distant, right? But with deep learning's development and its widespread adoption over the last, say, 10, 12 years, he argues that revolution has definitively arrived.
Okay, so deep learning, where did that come from? It wasn't entirely new, was it?
Not entirely, no. To really get deep learning, Dr. Kai-Fu Lee explains it emerged from a concept called neural networks. These were actually a rather fringe idea back in the 1980s. These networks mimicked the brain's architecture, sort of, with layers of artificial neurons. Unlike the traditional rule-based approach of earlier AI, neural networks learn by being fed massive amounts of examples, images, sounds, text, medical scans, games. And they identify patterns within that data with minimal human interference.
So less programming rules, more learning from data.
Exactly. Think of it like teaching a child. Instead of giving it explicit rules like a dog has 4 legs and barks, you show it millions of pictures of dogs. And it gradually learns to recognize a dog, even if it sees a breed it's never encountered before. For a long time, this fringe approach was largely overlooked because it needed two things we just didn't have in abundance: truly massive data sets and immense computing power.
Right, the fuel and the engine.
Precisely. The turning point came dramatically in 2012. A neural network built by Geoffrey Hinton's team, known as AlecNet, just demolished the competition in an international computer vision contest. It reduced error rates by more than half. That was the moment the AI world really woke up and realized deep learning wasn't a fringe theory anymore. It was a powerful reality.
It's incredible to think that an idea once kind of dismissed could become so central. So after years in the shadows, what was it that finally let deep learning just explode onto the scene and become the bedrock of modern AI?
Well, the resurgence of deep learning and its newfound power was primarily fueled by that explosion in the two core requirements: massive amounts of data and immense computing power. Just think about it. Back in the 1950s, data was scarce. Computing power was limited to these room-sized mainframes. Today, your smartphone alone holds millions of times more processing power than the cutting-edge computers NASA used to send Neil Armstrong to the moon in '69.
That's mind-boggling.
It really is. It's not just a marginal increase, it's an exponential leap. And the internet, especially the mobile internet, has led to this unprecedented explosion of all kinds of digital data: text, images, videos, clicks, purchases, social media stuff, sensor data, everything. This abundance has given researchers just copious amounts of rich data to train their neural networks. And alongside that, plenty of cheap computing power, largely from advanced graphics processing units, or GPUs, ironically originally designed for video games to handle that really intensive training.
So the right ingredients finally came together.
Exactly. This confluence of factors allowed deep learning, now kind of rebranded and refined, to outperform older models and finally bring AI's power to bear on a whole range of real-world problems, like deciphering human speech, recognizing faces in crowds, or making those precise lending decisions. But Dr. Kai-Fu Lee clarifies, this deep learning is what's known as narrow AI. It's intelligence that is exquisitely good at taking data from one specific domain and applying it to optimize one specific outcome. Its power comes from recognizing intricate patterns in abundant data, even what he calls weak features, these subtle correlations that humans just can't easily connect or explain in simple cause and effect terms.
Weak features, like what?
Well, for example, in lending, an AI might find that people who, say, take out loans on a Wednesday tend to repay faster, even if we don't really know why. It's not about human-like understanding, it's about statistical correlation. And this ability to spot subtle, often counterintuitive patterns in vast data sets is its true strength. It makes it applicable to this astonishing array of different problems.
Okay, here's where it starts to paint that vivid picture of the global AI landscape you mentioned. If deep learning was the sort of technological spark, what was China's precise turning point? Dr. Kai-Fu Lee vividly describes the AlphaGo versus KG-Go match in 2016. For those who aren't familiar, KG was the world's #1 Go player. It's a game far more complex than chess, relies heavily on intuition, pattern recognition, things thought to be beyond machines. Yet, over 3 marathon matches, AlphaGo just systematically dismantled him.
Yeah, it was brutal to watch, in a way.
And while many observers in the US saw this as, a triumph of Western tech, it was a product of DeepMind, which Google had acquired. In China, it became a true Sputnik moment for artificial intelligence. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee recounts watching it unfold from Beijing's Zhongguancun, the Silicon Valley of China, basically, and he saw it not just as a challenge, but as a profound inspiration. For the Chinese people, AlphaGo's victories weren't just a machine triumph. They were this powerful, undeniable signal about the immense potential of AI. It triggered a deep psychological shift, a national determination.
And zooming out from this specific moment, the bigger picture is that this ignited a veritable AI fever across China. A fever that quickly spilled into government policy and led to this broad-based, almost unprecedented national support. The event sparked widespread public excitement, this collective determination to catch up, maybe even surpass the West. Less than 2 months after the AlphaGo match, the Chinese central government issued this incredibly ambitious plan. The goal, to become the global leader in AI by 2030, with really clear, measurable benchmarks for 2020 and 2025.
Wow, that's specific.
Very. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee actually compares this national mobilization to President Kennedy's landmark speech calling for America to land a man on the moon. It was a top-down directive that just galvanized an entire nation, and this led to a historic surge in AI investment, research, entrepreneurship. By 2017, for the first time ever, Chinese venture capital funding for AI startups actually surpassed the United States, making up a staggering 48% of global AI venture funding that year.
48%.
Yeah. Money poured in from VCs, from tech giants like Tencent and Alibaba, from various government initiatives. And Chinese students, too. They caught the fever. Streaming international lectures, diving into online publications, engaging in these intense debates in WeChat groups, enrolling in advanced AI degree programs at just an unprecedented rate. It created this true ecosystem of innovation, fueled by both top-down government policy and this bottom-up entrepreneurial energy.
And Dr. Kai-Fu Lee makes a crucial distinction here about the very nature of AI progress itself, doesn't he? It's not just about who invented what first.
Precisely. He draws a vital line between what he calls the age of discovery and the age of implementation. The age of discovery, he explains, that's where the fundamental breakthroughs happen, driven by a handful of elite thinkers, often called superstar researchers. These are the folks who pioneered deep learning, with the core innovations mostly clustered in the US, Canada, and the UK. But he argues that while the US clearly led this initial discovery phase, China is uniquely poised to dominate the subsequent age of implementation.
Implementation, meaning actually using the AI.
Exactly. In this current phase, the primary drivers of success are no longer just breakthrough algorithms, but three crucial ingredients: massive amounts of data, readily available computing power, and a large, skilled pool of AI algorithm engineers who can apply these existing deep learning capabilities to real-world problems. Once computing power and engineering talent reach a certain threshold, the sheer quantity and richness of data becomes decisive. And China, as we'll get into, has an unprecedented abundance of exactly that kind of data. So this means that while breakthrough innovations like deep learning itself are rare, the application of these existing capabilities to reshape industries and daily life, that's where China's strength lies. And that makes it a formidable force in the current AI landscape.
Okay, so if data and implementation are the new battlegrounds, what does this mean for the business landscape? This is where Dr. Kai-Fu Lee draws that fascinating, almost brutal contrast between the entrepreneurial cultures, Silicon Valley versus China. Silicon Valley, often born from, successful professionals, can sometimes value original ideas, maybe to the point of complacency. Copying is often stigmatized there. Companies can sometimes coast on one original idea or a lucky break, and maybe a relative lack of cutthroat competition can lead to a failure to explore every possible iteration of a business model. But in China, totally different story.
That's right. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee vividly describes China's entrepreneurial environment as a coliseum of cutthroat competition. It's fueled by, well, a historical scarcity mentality and a cultural acceptance of copying. Copying isn't seen as a vice, necessarily, but more as a starting point for improvement. In this brutal arena, entrepreneurs have to relentlessly tweak business models, innovate, adapt, or they'll just be driven out of business, often in a matter of months. He emphasizes that the only way to survive is to constantly improve your product and build what he calls an impenetrable moat around your company. If your only edge is a single novel idea, forget it. It'll be copied immediately, your best employees poached, and you'll be driven out by VC-subsidized competitors willing to run at a loss just to grab market share.
Wow, no mercy.
None. This brutal environment forces entrepreneurs to be incredibly agile.
That coliseum of competition sounds just incredibly intense. Kai-Fu Lee even describes it as a total war sometimes. Can you maybe walk us through a concrete example, how this plays out maybe with a specific company or even one of those total wars between rivals that really shows what he means by these gladiator entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. Let's take Wang Xing. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee labels him the cloner. He meticulously copied successful Western models. He built Xiaonarenren, which was China's version of Facebook, then Fanfu, a Twitter clone, and finally Meituan, which started as a Groupon copycat. Silicon Valley often dismissed this as shameless, right? Predicted it would hold China back from real innovation, but Wang Xing definitely got the last laugh. By late 2017, as Meituan hadn't just triumphed in this brutally competitive environment, beating out literally thousands of similar group buying websites.
Including Groupon itself, right?
including Groupon itself, yeah, which just shriveled compared to Meituan. But then Meituan branched out into dozens of new lines of business food delivery, hotel bookings, movie tickets, everything. It became this massive $30 billion company. Wang Sheng didn't just copy, he endlessly iterated and adapted to the brutal demands of the market, always pivoting, redeploying resources to follow exactly what consumers wanted. He embodied that lean startup methodology, not as some abstract ideal, but as a desperate necessity for survival, constantly sensing subtle shifts in behavior and relentlessly tinkering with products.
So copying was just the starting line.
Exactly. Another really vivid example of this total war approach is the 3Q war that erupted back in 2010. This was between Zhu Hongyi's Qihoo 360, a security software company, and Tencent's QQ, which was China's dominant messaging platform at the time. This was corporate total war, no holds barred, dirty tricks, smear campaigns, even police raids.
Police raids, seriously.
Oh yeah. Zhu, a classic gladiator entrepreneur, saw competition as basically a battlefield. Qihoo first released this privacy protection software that issued these dire safety warnings every time a Tencent product was opened, often not based on real vulnerabilities, but incredibly effective smears. Then Qihoo released software to filter all the ads within QQ, essentially trying to kill Tencent's revenue stream from its core product. It escalated dramatically. At one point, over 30 police officers raided Qihoo's offices in Beijing to detain Zhu. He managed to flee to Hong Kong just in time. Finally, Tencent took what Dr. Kai-Fu Lee calls the nuclear option. It blocked QQ messaging on any computer that had Qihoo 360 installed, forcing hundreds of millions of users to choose between their messaging service and their security software.
That's insane.
It was. The government ultimately had to step in to separate the bloodied combatants and mediate a ceasefire. This rough-and-tumble Darwinian environment, as Dr. Kai-Fu Lee explains, incubated these gladiator entrepreneurs. They are uniquely nimble, savvy, ready to apply AI to any problem with profit potential. Constantly working harder, executing better than opponents. This hyper-competitive, high-stakes environment, he argues, is going to be China's core asset in this age of AI implementation.
That's an astonishing level of intensity. And it seems that the uniqueness of China's market, the sheer size, the mobile-first population, these intense competitive dynamics led to the creation of what Dr. Kai-Fu Lee calls an alternate internet universe. This isn't just imitation, it's a completely different digital ecosystem, one that generates vast amounts of data specifically ripe for AI. It's built on this foundation of mobile-first internet users, people who often access the internet only through cheap smartphones, completely leapfrogging the desktop era that shaped the Western internet. And this led to the rapid rise of services like WeChat, which isn't just a messaging app, right? It's like a digital Swiss Army knife, combining the functions of Facebook, Uber, Expedia, Amazon, PayPal, and way more, all seamlessly integrated with frictionless mobile payments.
And what's truly fascinating here is how this unique landscape created an unprecedented real-world datascape. Take mobile payments, for instance. China completely leapfrogged credit cards, moved directly to QR code-based mobile payments via WeChat Pay and Alipay. This happened at lightning speed, like between 2014 and 2016. It transformed the financial landscape so completely that, as Dr. Kai-Fu Lee amusingly recounts, even beggars on the streets of Chinese cities started accepting mobile payments via QR codes.
You're kidding.
Nope. This generated, as he puts it, the richest maps of consumer activity the world has ever known, far exceeding traditional credit card or e-commerce data. Every single transaction, every physical interaction, every service booking creates a data point. And the fees were virtually non-existent compared to the 2.53% charged by credit card companies, which just accelerated adoption even faster. This wasn't just a convenient payment method. It was a societal transformation that laid the groundwork for these massive AI training datasets.
So it's not just about what they copied from the West, but how they adapted it, iterated on it, and integrated it so deeply into daily life, creating these unique data streams.
Exactly right. Then you have the explosion of online to offline, or O2O services. These are far more integrated into the physical world than their Western counterparts often are. Companies like Dianping, for example, started as a Yelp copycat, but went heavy into food delivery. Built their own massive scooter fleets, managed the logistics, something American companies often avoided, choosing to go light by just connecting customers to existing services. Dianping, after surviving those brutal group buying wars, spent millions hiring and managing these fleets, enabling even small mom-and-pop shops to expand their customer base without hiring their own delivery teams.
So they took on the messy real-world stuff.
They did. Didi, which famously drove Uber out of China, is now doing things like acquiring gas stations and auto repair shops to service its fleet, generating incredible margins, leveraging existing trust. And while Airbnb largely remains a lightweight platform connecting hosts and guests, its Chinese rival, Tujia, actually manages a large chunk of its rental properties itself, taking care of cleaning, stocking smart locks for hosts. These are much deeper integrations into the physical world than we generally see in the West.
And these deeper integrations, I'm guessing, generate even more valuable granular data.
Precisely. Even shared bicycles, like Mobike and Afo, became ubiquitous in Chinese cities. These bikes are internet-connected. You unlock them with QR codes via a smartphone app. By 2017, Mobike alone was logging 22 million rides per day in China. That's 4 times Uber's global daily rides from 2016.
22 million a day.
Yeah. Each ride generated immense granular data on user movements, popular routes, urban patterns, all crucial for training AI algorithms for everything from smart city planning to autonomous vehicles. And this entire transformation was turbocharged by direct government support through campaigns like mass innovation and mass entrepreneurship, which poured funding and incentives into startups. While initially dismissed by Western analysts as maybe inefficient or prone to bubbles, this campaign fundamentally shifted the cultural zeitgeist, pushing investment in startup activity to feverish new heights, giving innovators the money and space they needed to experiment. So the sum of these factors, market-driven entrepreneurs, mobile-first users, innovative super apps, ubiquitous mobile payments, deep government support, created this unprecedented data goldmine, the essential raw material for the AI revolution unmatched anywhere else in the world.
Okay, so given this massive data advantage in the hyper-competitive environment, what does this all mean for the competitive balance of power? U.S. versus China in AI. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee argues that while America still dominates in superstar researchers, those elite thinkers driving fundamental breakthroughs. China is rapidly training an army of highly skilled AI engineers who can turn those discoveries into game-changing companies. He notes a striking imbalance. The ratio of top-tier AI researchers in the U.S. to China might be, say, 100 to 1 in America's favor, but the number of well-trained, highly capable AI engineers is more like 1 to 10 in China's favor.
That's a critical distinction for this age of implementation we talked about. The open research culture of AI means that Chinese students and engineers are absorbing cutting-edge knowledge in real time through open access online publications, active debates in WeChat groups, streaming lectures from top universities globally. This has rapidly closed the knowledge gap. It led to a doubling of papers by Chinese researchers in top AI journals and conferences from about 23% to nearly 43% just between 2006 and 2015.
Wow, that's fast.
It is. And both the U.S. and China, Dr. Kai-Fu Lee observes, have their 7 giants. In the U.S., it's Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. In China, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, the big companies, these giants are dominating the AI economy. They're gobbling up available talent and constructing what he calls power grids for AI. These are basically privately controlled computing networks that distribute machine learning capabilities across the economy, with these tech behemoths acting almost like utility providers.
Yeah.
They're buying up available AI talent using billions in cash and leveraging their dizzying stockpiles of data to further entrench their dominance.
And it's not just about software and data, right? What about the hardware side of the equation? That seems important too.
That's a crucial point, yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, hardware innovation is another key area where China has a distinct advantage. While Silicon Valley largely leads in software, Shenzhen, often called the factory of the world, is the undisputed world champion in intelligent hardware. Its unparalleled manufacturing flexibility, its vast ecosystem of suppliers, its armies of skilled industrial engineers. It allows for incredibly rapid iteration and cheap production of sensors, drones, smart devices. Hardware entrepreneurs routinely say that a week in Shenzhen is like a month in the U.S. in terms of prototyping and production speed.
A week versus a month.
Yeah. Companies like Xiaomi offer a compelling glimpse of this. They built this affordable network of 85 million intelligent home devices by late 2017, far ahead of any comparable U.S. networks at the time. This leverages that made in Shenzhen advantage and fuels a virtuous cycle. Stronger algorithms lead to better, cheaper hardware, which lead to more sales, more data, and even stronger algorithms, driving these companies toward massive valuations.
Okay, and beyond the private sector, the differences in government approach are also pretty stark, according to Lee. He contrasts what he describes as Obama's 2016 AI plan, which he kind of characterizes as, well, limp, offering common-sense prescriptions but lacking any real mobilizational push or strategic funding.
That contrasts sharply with China's sweeping 2017 National AI Plan. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee unequivocally states it was akin to Kennedy's Man on the Moon speech in its national mobilization effect. Maybe lacked the storing rhetoric, but it set off this national all-hands-on-deck approach to AI. with those clear benchmarks. Significant advancements by 2020, major global force by 2025, global leadership by 2030. He identifies China's underlying philosophy here as techno-utilitarianism.
Techno-utilitarianism. What does that mean exactly?
It means that unlike Western systems that often prioritize individual rights or cautious bottom-up regulation, the Chinese government is willing to make massive top-down bets on AI. They'll accept short-term inefficiencies or even significant risks because they believe the long-term societal benefits, like dramatically reducing traffic fatalities with autonomous vehicles or achieving massive economic upgrading, outweigh those immediate concerns. Local governments, driven by this philosophy, are making huge investments in AI, offering massive subsidies, even building entire AI cities, like Xiangyan, designed from the ground up to accommodate self-driving cars and other technologies, with sensors embedded in the cement, traffic lights equipped with computer vision.
Building cities for AI.
Yeah. This willingness to absorb losses in pursuit of larger national goals, to kind of brute force economic and technological upgrading, gives China a unique advantage in the pace of AI development and adoption. It contrasts sharply with the U.S., where, political firestorms often follow big government bets that don't immediately pay off, like the Solyndra case back in the day.
Right, that makes sense. So this entire discussion about AI's rapid advancement, the competition between these two superpowers, it ultimately leads Dr. Kai-Fu Lee to address what he calls the real AI crisis.
Yeah.
And he takes us far beyond, the usual sci-fi dystopias. Instead, he paints a really sobering picture. Potential massive social disorder, political collapse, stemming from widespread unemployment and just gaping inequality. He directly challenges that popular Luddite fallacy, the idea that dismisses fears of tech-induced job losses by pointing to history, where past industrial revolutions ultimately led to more jobs and prosperity.
Right, he says this time might be different.
Exactly. He differentiates between the first two industrial revolutions, steam engine, electricity. These were general-purpose technologies, GPTs, that often led to de-skilling, but also created a vast number of new jobs for a larger, often less skilled workforce. He contrasts this with information and communication technology, ICT, the most recent GPT. Over the past 30 years, ICT has caused what economists call a great decoupling. Productivity growth keeps going up, but wage growth and job numbers stagnate for many, with wealth increasingly concentrating at the top. AI, he argues, will just pour gasoline on that fire.
That's right, and the implications are profound, which raises the really important question: which jobs are truly at risk in this new AI era? Dr. Kai-Fu Lee argues that AI will cut across both manual and cognitive labor, not by de-skilling for more workers, but by replacing tasks. Specifically tasks that can be optimized by data and don't require complex social interaction or profound creativity.
Yeah.
He identifies two primary kinds of job loss that will contribute to this crisis. First,
what are they?
one-to-one replacements. This is where machines simply do the same tasks as humans, only better, faster, cheaper. Think dishwashers in restaurants, maybe entry-level translators. He cites studies, like one from PwC, predicting that as much as 38% of U.S. jobs are at high risk due to these direct replacements within the next decade or two.
38%, wow.
And second, ground-up disruptions. This is where entire industries are fundamentally transformed by new AI-empowered business models, leading to much steeper reductions in human labor. This could affect an additional 10–12% of the workforce. Examples might be fast food, financial services, even specialized fields like radiology, where companies might consolidate human interaction tasks to a few highly compensated employees, while algorithms perform most of the grunt work analysis, initial diagnosis, that kind of thing.
So we're potentially talking about, 40–50% of jobs in the U.S. being technically automatable within 10 to 20 years? That's staggering. And he makes a very interesting point about which types of jobs will be hit first, almost counterintuitively.
He absolutely does. And it's based on something called Moravec's paradox, which basically states that what is hard for humans is often easy for AI, and what is easy for humans is often hard for AI. AI is great at complex thinking, pattern recognition, but robots, they're still remarkably bad at dexterity, common sense, nuanced physical interaction in unstructured environments.
Right, folding laundry is still hard for a robot.
Exactly. So this leads Dr. Kai-Fu Lee to predict that AI algorithms, being pure software, will hit white-collar cognitive jobs first, like a missile strike. Software can be distributed at virtually no cost, updated instantly, deployed globally, allowing it to rapidly impact professions based on information processing and decision-making, especially those with minimal social components. Conversely, physical automation of blue-collar jobs, which requires complex robotics and interaction with a messy physical world, that'll be a more gradual, arduous process. Like trench warfare, he calls it, requiring significant capital investment and bespoke solutions for each specific context.
Missile strike versus trench warfare. That's a vivid analogy.
It is. And the problem of job loss and inequality is further exacerbated by AI's natural tendency towards monopolies and winner-take-all economics. Better products lead to more users, which generates more data, which in turn leads to even better products, creating this insurmountable barrier to entry for smaller companies. This concentrates immense wealth in a few dominant AI companies, largely based in AI-rich countries like the US and China, widening global inequality and making it incredibly difficult for other nations to catch up. And beyond the purely economic impact, Dr. Kai-Fu Lee emphasizes the profound psychological impact as well. For centuries, work has been central to human purpose, identity, self-worth. Its widespread loss threatens our very sense of identity, leading to these profound socio-psychological effects, a potential crisis of meaning for billions.
This rather grim picture of the future brings us to what I think is the really deeply personal and transformative core of the book. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee shares his own profound journey, which really began with a stage 4 lymphoma diagnosis back in 2013. He describes his life leading up to that point as being like an Iron Man workaholic, constantly optimizing for influence, professional achievement, even waking up at 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. to answer emails, driven by this insatiable need to maximize his impact. He confesses that his family, ironically, became almost like an input to be quantified on a spreadsheet, as if they were another project to optimize.
That's hard to hear.
It is. He admits, with deep regret, that earlier in his career he would have chosen a critical work meeting over being at the birth of his first child. A revelation that truly underscores how much he had become, as he puts it, a person who thought like a machine, sacrificing genuine human connection and love for professional achievement and this hollow sense of influence. His cancer diagnosis, this sudden confrontation with his own mortality, forced him to confront the emptiness of that machine-like mentality, to profoundly reevaluate his entire life's priorities.
And what's truly fascinating here is how his deeply personal medical experience reinforced both AI's immense potential and its inherent limits. His initial cancer diagnosis, based on standard medical protocols and what doctors call strong features like tumor location, things easily memorized by human doctors, had a grim 50% survival rate. But as his own AI-trained mind, even while battling illness, led him to this cutting-edge research paper. He used thousands of weak features, these subtle, seemingly unrelated data points across various biological markers, patient histories, to predict an 89% survival rate for his specific type of lymphoma.
Wow, from 50% to 89%.
Yeah, this was a powerful, first-hand demonstration of AI's power to find correlations beyond human comprehension, to potentially outperform traditional human-based medical prognosis. It offered him this glimmer of hope in his darkest hour.
So AI could actually save lives in ways human doctors might miss. But that wasn't the whole story for him, was it? That didn't solve the deeper crisis he felt.
No, absolutely not. While AI offered invaluable insight, no algorithm, no matter how powerful, could replace the profound love, the comfort, the tireless support of his family, his wife, sisters, mother throughout his grueling chemotherapy. Their selfless care, their emotional resilience, those were the anchors of his healing process, something no technology could possibly replicate. This led him to a profound realization, reinforced by these deeply philosophical conversations with the Buddhist master, Ixing Yin, that his relentless pursuit of impact was ultimately just a disguise for an unfulfilled ego, and that true meaning, lasting happiness, comes not from professional achievement or influence, but from giving and sharing unconditional love. He came to understand with absolute clarity that, quote, "Let machines be machines and let humans be humans. Let us choose to simply use our machines and, more importantly, to love one another."
Let machines be machines. Let humans be humans.
Yeah. This powerful, almost spiritual vision forms his blueprint for human coexistence with AI. He then offers concrete ideas, starting with this poignant anecdote about a friend's touchscreen device designed for the elderly. The engineers were perplexed because users kept calling customer service not for tech help, but simply out of loneliness. They just wanted to chat with a human voice. It revealed this deeply unmet human need for connection that technology by itself simply couldn't address.
That's a powerful and often overlooked insight, isn't it? So, for society facing this looming AI crisis, particularly the job displacement, What does this personal transformation lead Dr. Kai-Fu Lee to propose, instead of just, say, a universal basic income, UBI, which he kind of views as Silicon Valley's magic wand?
Right, the quick fix.
Yeah, a simple technical solution to a profoundly human problem. A sort of light approach designed to maybe avert social upheaval without truly addressing the deeper economic, social, psychological impacts. He proposes something quite different. A social investment stipend.
That's right. He fears that some UBI proponents in Silicon Valley are maybe looking for a way to assuage their consciences without genuinely grappling with the profound changes AI will bring. Instead, his social investment stipend would proactively incentivize people to engage in pro-social activities. Activities that AI simply cannot do. Activities that leverage our unique human capacity for compassion, creativity, connection. This includes roles like caregiving for the elderly, mentorship for children, community service, personalized education. It's about building a society where human work complements AI rather than just competing with it. By focusing on our irreplaceable human attributes, he envisions programs that could greatly increase government support for new parents, provide subsidies for homeschooling, or even expand the number of teachers in public schools by like a factor of 10, all focused on these intrinsically human, care-oriented roles.
And crucially, he suggests funding this ambitious vision through super taxes on the super profits generated by AI. He's urging us to make a profound shift in cultural values, really, to redefine the very concept of work beyond just mere economic output. He draws inspiration from cultures of craftsmanship, from the inherent value of volunteering, from the deep satisfaction derived from human connection and service. He acknowledges the challenges in implementing such a system, how much the stipend should be, how do you measure the performance of caring activities, but argues these are manageable bureaucratic tasks compared to the massive human upside. This fundamental shift in values, he believes, is absolutely crucial to ensuring AI truly benefits all people, rather than just preventing the worst-case scenario of widespread social unrest. And hey, if you're finding this deep dive valuable and thought-provoking, please do consider giving us a like and hitting that subscribe button. It truly helps us bring more insightful content and deeper explorations like this to you.
Definitely. And then we connect this all back to the bigger picture, AI Superpowers by Dr. Kai-Fu Lee offers an absolutely vital roadmap for navigating the profound shifts ahead. It meticulously reveals the distinct strengths and competitive dynamics between the U.S. and China in AI, highlighting China's unique advantages in its vast datascapes, its intense entrepreneurial culture, and its techno-utilitarian government support for rapid implementation. He acknowledges, sure, the U.S. still dominates in superstar researchers, but China's formidable army of engineers, its unparalleled hardware ecosystem in Shenzhen, and its pragmatic, top-down government approach make it a truly formidable force, poised to dominate this age of implementation.
Indeed. And as Dr. Kai-Fu Lee concludes, the choice is ultimately ours, isn't it? We can choose to allow AI to just exacerbate inequality and erode human purpose, leading to widespread unemployment and social disorder. Or we can leverage its incredible wealth-generating potential to foster a more loving, human-centric society, one that redefines work around our unique human capacities for compassion, creativity, connection, and ensures that the material abundance AI creates is broadly shared among all people. It's a powerful call to action for all of us, really, to look beyond the technology itself and focus on our core values and collective wisdom, learning from diverse cultures and experiences to build a more human future. Now, for our next deep dive into AI superpowers, we'll be breaking down the book's timeline of AI development and its predicted impacts in even greater detail, offering a more granular look at the progression of this transformative technology.
Thank you for listening, and we'll be back for more.